ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 7 on Sadhak-Sanjivani Tika of Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ramsukhdasji Maharaj. This video number 7 starts with stanza number 33 of chapter number 1 of Bhagavad Gita. येषाम् अर्थे कांक्षी अक्षतं नो राज्यं भोगा सुखानि च ते इमे अवस्थिता युद्धे प्राणांस्त त्यक्त्वा धनानि च. Those for whose sake we seek kingdom, enjoyment and pleasure are here arrayed on the battlefield, staking their lives and property. Commentary on stanza number 33. Yesam marthe kansmitah no rajam bhogah sukhani cha. Whatever kingdom, pleasure and enjoyment we desire, we want these for our relatives and friends. With these we want to please and serve our teachers, uncles, grand uncles and sons, etc. We do not want to possess these for our personal enjoyment. Ta ime vasthita yuddhe pranhast maktva dhanani cha. But all of these are arrayed here on the battlefield, staking their lives and property. They have decided to sacrifice even their lives on the war front. If all of them are killed, for whom should we desire kingdom, prosperity, and pleasure? Pranamasthektva dhanani cha means that they are standing on the battlefield, staking their lives and property. If they had got a desire for life and prosperity, why would they stand here to be slain? It means that they have renounced every hope. Link. In the next two verses, there is description of the people for whom Arjuna wants kingdom, pleasure, and enjoyment. Verse number 34. Acharyah pitrah putrasthaiv च पितामहः मातुलः सवसुरः पौत्रः शालः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा. Stanza number 35. Etanne hantum ichhami dhvano api madhusudan api tralyok rajasya heto kimne mahi kirte. Translation. Teachers, uncles, fathers, sons, as well as grand uncles, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other relatives, though they may kill me, I would not seek to slay them, even for the sovereignty of three worlds, and least for this earth. Commentary on stanza number 34 and 35. Lord Krishna in the 21st verse of the 16th chapter says that passion, anger and greed, these constitute the triple gates to hell. Really, these three are different forms of passion. These are born out of our attachment for worldly things and person. Passion has two sides: to get the desired thing and to get rid of undesired one. Desired things include accumulation and enjoyment. The desire for accumulation is known as greed, and desire for enjoyment is called passion. If desire for accumulation and enjoyment is not satisfied, anger accrues. In anger, men perform actions to destroy those who create obstacles in the fulfillment of their desires. It proves that men fight to get desired things and to get rid of undesired ones. But Arjuna does not want to fight for either of the two. आचार्यः पितारः किं नु मही करते. If our kith and kin, being prompted by greed or anger, want to slay me, I do not seek to kill them out of anger or greed, because these two are the gateways to hell. Here the word api has been used two times by Arjuna. It means first, why should they kill me when I do not create any obstacle to their selfish motive? Even then, suppose they slay me by thinking that I worked as an obstacle to their selfish motive, I do not seek to slay them. Secondly, though there is no possibility for the sovereignty of the three words coming to me by killing them, yet if I get it, I do not seek to slay them. Madhusudana. It means that you killed the demons such as Madhu, etc. But these teachers such as Drona, etc., and grand uncles such as Bhishma, etc., are not demons, they are our near and dear ones. So why should I have a desire to kill them? Acharyaha. I should serve respected and benevolent teachers such as Drona, etc., rather than fight them. It is appropriate on our part even to sacrifice our lives at their feet. Pitraha, how can we slay our uncles, fathers out of anger or greed when we have got this body linked with them? Putraha, it is our duty to bring up our sons and our brothers' sons, even though they may stand against us or act badly. Pitamaha, when our grand uncles are worthy of adoration as our father, they deserve still greater adoration from us. Though they may rebuke and punish us, yet we should not cause any suffering to them. We should rather serve them and give comfort to them. Matul, Matullah, our maternal uncles being the brothers of our mothers who rear us, deserve adoration from us. Savsuraha, these father-in-law are the father to my wife and my brother's wives. They are just like fathers to us, so how can I slay them? Potraha, we should bring up our grandsons in a better way than our sons rather than kill them. Shilaha, how can we slay the loving brothers of our wives? Sambhadinnaha, Sambandhina, I should serve and bring up all the relatives rather than kill them. It is improper on our part to kill them, even for the sovereignty of three worlds. Lord Krishna is called Madhusudana because he killed the demon named Madhu. Link. Now Arjuna justified his intention not to slay his kith and kin, even from a point of view of consequences. Stanza number 36. Nihatte धारतराष्ट्रांत का प्रीति ही सा जनार्दन पाप पापम एवा सरेदस्मान हत्वा न तातायनः. O Janardana, Janardana, the name of Sri Krishna means a person who is worshipped by people for prosperity and emancipation. What delight can we derive by slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin alone will attach us by slaying these desperados. Commentary on stanza number 36. Nihatta धृतराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः सा जनार्दनः पापामेव श्रेयादस्मन्ना हत्वा. We cannot derive even the slightest joy by slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra and the warriors of their army. If we kill them out of anger or greed, we shall have to repent, because the memory of those kinsmen will obsess us and the grief of their death will torment us. We cannot get joy in this world by killing them, and sin will accrue to us in the next world, which will torment us there. There are 6 kinds of desperados: one who sets fire, one who poisons, who murders, who seizes wealth, who usurps kingdoms, and those who kidnap others' wives. Duryodhana and his companions have committed all these criminal offences. They secretly set fire to the residence where Pandavas were expected to be sleeping. They poisoned Bhima and threw him into water. They made an attempt on the life of Pandavas. While gambling deceitfully, they deprived Pandavas of their wealth and kingdom. And in the assembly, Duryodhana insulted Draupadi by calling her his waiting maid and persuaded Jayadratha to kidnap Draupadi, and he kidnapped her. In the scriptures, it is mentioned that there is no sin in killing a desperado. Manusmriti chapter 8, stanza number 351. But it is also mentioned in the scriptures that non-violence is of great virtue. Therefore, why should we slay our kith and kin out of anger and greed? Though Duryodhana, etc., being desperados, deserve to be killed, yet sin will accrue to us as a result of such action, because they are our kith and kin. It is mentioned in the scriptures that one who kills his kith and kin is a great sinner. So how can we kill them? Therefore, it is better to break off our relationship with them rather than to kill them. In the same way as relationship could be cut off from a son, but he cannot be slain. Link. Having pointed out the evil consequences of war, Arjuna now dwells upon the sheer impropriety of waging war. Stanza number 37. तस्मान् तस्मान्नाहराव्ययं हन्तुं धृतराष्ट्रान् सौबन्धवान् सौजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधवः. Translation of stanza 37. O Madhava, therefore we should not slay the sons of Dhritarashtra, our kinsmen, for how can we, by killing our own kinsmen, gain happiness? Commentary on stanza number 37. तस्मान्नरहा व्यायं हन्तुनि धृतराष्ट्रान् स्वं बन्धुवान्. The arguments against the slaughter of our kith and kin advanced so far from chapter 1 stanza number 28 to this verse are enough to convince us that it is improper to indulge in a destructive activity like war. How can we, who are regarded as virtuous persons, perform such a hideous act? Saujanyam hi katham hatva sukhinah shama madhva. If mere thought of their slaughter is so painful, just imagine how much more painful it would be to slay them after being blinded by avarice and anger. How can we feel happy after their slaughter? They are our close relations. Delusion, which is born of a sense of mind, deprives Arjuna of his sense of duty as a member of the warrior class. Where there is delusion, there is no discretion. When discretion is suppressed by delusion, the sense of duty gets blurred. Link. The question arises why Duryodhana does not think along the same lines as you are thinking. Since you are also his kith and kin, Arjuna explains this in the two verses and that follow. Stanza number 38. यद्यते ते न पश्यन्ति लोभो पहत चेतसः कुल अक्षय कृतम दोषम मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम. स्टेंजा 39. कथम ने गेयम समाभि पाप दस्मान्नि वर्तितुम कुल अक्षकृतम दोषम परपशन्ति जनार्दनः. Translation. Although these people, with their understanding, discrimination, clouded by greed, do not perceive the evil of destruction of their own families and the sin accruing from enmity towards friends, yet, O Janardana, Krishna, why should we, who see clearly the sin involved in the destruction of the family, not think of turning away from such a thing, from such a sin? Commentary on stanza 38 and 39. Yadyapatena pashyanti lobha pahata chittasaha kula akshaya kartam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam. Greed consists in desiring to have more and more of wealth, property, praise, respect, and rank. It is because of greed that Duryodhana etc. lost discretion, and so they not think about the disastrous consequences of war and the sin that will accrue out of it. This extraordinary greed had deprived them of their sense of discretion, and little do they realize that the kingdom for which they are bent upon committing the sin of destroying their kith and kin will not stay long with them. The pleasure of possession is soon followed by the pain of deprivation, which far outweighs the pleasure of possession. With minds clouded by greed for the kingdom, they do not perceive the deadly sin which will arise by destroying their own families. A battle causes loss of time, energy, life, and property, and people are assailed by worries and hardships. When there is a quarrel between two friends, they turn into enemies. Drupada and Drona had been friends since childhood. After getting the kingdom one day, Drupada insulted Drona with the result that their friendship turned into enmity. To avenge his insult, Drona got Drupada defeated by his pupil Arjuna and thus got half of his kingdom. Then Drupada got a holy sacrifice performed to destroy Drona, and thus both Dhrishtadumna and Draupadi were born. Thus they do not perceive the evil of destruction of the race and the sin that will accrue from enmity towards friends. An important matter. We managed life well without things which we do not possess. The paucity of things was not so painful as it is if we miss those things after possessing them. But these things can be with us for a short time only, because these can stay with us so long as our fortune favors us, and then they slip away. Thus we remain the same as we were without getting these. We had to work hard to get them and are now sad after losing them. After getting them, we felt somewhat happy only because of our greed. If we do not have this evil of greed, we can never be happy after getting the things. Similarly, we get happiness from members of our family because of love and delusion. Thus, we see that we derive worldly pleasure out of evil. Without evil, no worldly pleasure is possible. If there is no greed, there cannot be any pleasure in accumulation of wealth. Greed destroys our discretion and we cannot think in the right perspective. कथम न जनेयामासंबंधी प्रपश्याभि Janardana. Arjun says, though Duryodhana etc. do not perceive any guilt in the extermination of their family and sin accruing from enmity towards friend, yet we should desist from such a sin. It will be described for the 40th verse to the 44th verse, because we know it very well that destruction of family is an evil and enmity towards friend is a sin. If those friends cause a pain, it will not be harmful for us, because pain will destroy our sins and purify us. But if we have feelings of malice and enmity, those feelings remain with us in other births also, will instigate us to commit sins and lead us to degradation. Therefore, we should certainly forsake such a sin. Here, Arjuna is thinking about the greed of Duryodhana, etc., but he is not thinking about his own infatuation and delusion. So he cannot understand his duty. It is a rule that a man cannot perceive his failings as long as he perceives defects in others. He feels rather proud of his superiority that he has no defect, while the fact is that everyone generally possesses one defect or the other. If we find fault with others, it is also a defect. Being proud of one's own virtues and finding fault with others are the two defects which we do not perceive in us, though we do not possess these. Thus, Arjuna cannot perceive his own infatuation and delusion because he is finding fault with Duryodhana and is proud of his virtue. All evils persist under the cover of pride. Link. Now, in the next 5 verses, Arjuna mentions the sins accruing from destruction of one's own family. Stanza number 40. Kul aksaye pranashyanti kul dharma sanatanaha dharme naste kulam कृत सन मद्धर्मो अभिभवत्युत. With the destruction of a family, its age-long family traditions disappear, and with the absence of family traditions, im- impiety takes hold of the entire family. Commentary on stanza number 40. Kul aksaye pran sayanti kula dharmaha sanatanaha. In a war, there is destruction of family. The family has its age-long traditions and time-honored uses, but when a family is destroyed, its pious traditions and uses, which lead the living and dead members of the family to benediction, also perish, because no one remains to maintain these. Dharme naste kulam Karat Nam Dharmo Bhibhav Yuta. When pious traditions and pious conduct perish, people lose their virtues and righteousness, and impiety takes hold of an entire family. Now the doubt arises how impiety takes hold of the family when it is destroyed. The answer is that when people who wage war are killed, impiety take hold of the children and women who do not take part in battle but are left behind. The reason is that when fit and experienced persons die in battle, no one is left behind to control the children and women and to teach them good conduct and virtuous behavior. So they do not behave decently, that is supposed to mark righteous persons. So impiety takes a hold of them. Stanza number 41. अधर्माभिभवा कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णे जायते वर्णसंकरः. Translation. When impiety prevails, O Krishna, the women of a family become perverse, and with their degradation, O Varsaneya, descendant of Varsani, a hybrid mixture of caste results. Commentary on stanza number 41. अधर्मा भी भाव कृष्णा Pardusyanti Kula Striyaha. By following righteousness, inner sense is purified. With the purification of inner sense, intellect becomes pure and pious and placid, sattvic. Intellect has discrimination between right and wrong, but when there is growth of impiety in family, the conduct of members in the family becomes bad. But bad conduct fouls the inner sense, whose inner sense makes the intellect tamasi. The intellect which wields knowledge and binds one to carelessness is called tamasi. With this tamasi intellect, men lose discrimination, regard the undesirable as desirable and the desirable as undesirable, and act against ordinance of scriptures. With such an intellect women become depraved with unchaste. Kshatrisu dushtasu varsneya jayate varna sankraha. Depraved women give birth to hybrids. If men and women belong to different castes, the offspring born of the couple is known as a hybrid mixture. Here Arjuna, by addressing the Lord as Krishna, means to say that he attracts everyone. He further asks him in which direction he will pull his family. Arjuna addresses him as Varsaniya because he belonged to the Varsani clan. He means to say, to what clan will his descendants belong when destruction of his clan takes place? Therefore, it is not proper to destroy the clan. Stanza 42. Sankaroः नरकायैव कुलघानां कुलस्य च पतन्ति पितरो हयेषां लुप्पिण्डो पिण्डोदकक्रियाः. Translation. A mixture of caste leads the family as also the destroyers of a family to hell. Deprived of them, the ritual offerings of rice balls and water, the means of their family also have a downfall. Commentary on stanza number 42. Sankaro Nara Kaya Sva Kul Ghananam Kul Sayacha. The offsprings that are born of an intermixture of caste are not religious minded and do not possess righteousness and rectitude because they themselves are the product of persons without virtue. So they behave against traditions and decorum of a race. Those who kill persons of a race war are called destroyers of the race. Such persons lead not only themselves but also the whole race to hell because of destruction of traditions of the race. Patanti Pitaro Haisam Lupta Pinda Dakaryaha. The names of the destroyers of a race fall because they do not get the ritual offerings of rice balls, pinda, and water from them. The reason is that when they get these offerings, because of those virtuous actions, they go to higher worlds. But when they do not get those offerings, they cannot continue to live in those worlds and they are degraded. A descendant who is a hybrid has no regard for his ancestors and he has no sentiment to offer anything to them. Moreover, even if he offers anything, such as obsequies as a social custom, without any regard and against the ordinance of scriptures, that is not received by the means. The reason is that he is not eligible to perform such rites, so they have a fall. Appendix. There are two types of names, Agyana and Martya. The men who live in the world of men are Ajana, while the men who go to the world of men after dying from the human world are Martya. The Martya means being deprived of the ritual offerings of rice bowls and water have a downfall. Only those Martya means have a downfall who have affinity for the family and offspring and expect to receive the ritual offerings of rice balls and water. Colophon. In the colophon of the Gita, the three expressions Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastri, and Sri Krishna Junamaswade have been used in the singular number, but Sri Mad Bhagavad Gita Su and Upanishatsu, these two expressions have been used in the plural number. It means that in all the Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is also an Upanishad in which Brahmavidya, the discipline of knowledge, Yoga Shastra, the discipline of action, and Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvad, the discipline of devotion, the three have been included in the Gita. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvad, with the dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, begins with devotion and ends in devotion. In the beginning, Arjuna, being confused with regard to his duty, takes refuge in God. शिष्यस्तेहं साधीमं त्वं परपन्नम. Gita, chapter number 2, stanza number 7. And in the end, being inspired by the Lord for taking refuge in Him alone, by the expression Mamekam Saranam Vraja, Arjuna takes refuge in Him alone when he declares Krishe Vachanam Tattva. I will do your bidding. Arjuna asked Lord Krishna the means by which he might attain the highest good. Gita, chapter number 2, stanza number 7, chapter number 3, stanza number 2, chapter number 5, stanza number 1. Therefore, the Lord has also described Jnana Yoga, the discipline of knowledge, and Karam Yoga, the discipline of action in the Gita. Stanza number 43. दोषै रहतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्ण संकरकैः उत्सादन्ते जाति धर्मा कुल धर्माश्च शाश्वता. Translation. Age-long caste traditions and family customs of the destroyers of a family get eradicated because of the intermixture created by the bad deeds of these destroyers of clans. Commentary. दोषा रहते ही कुल घनानाम कुल धर्माश्च शाश्वतः. With the destruction of a race in war, family traditions are ruined. With the ruin of family traditions, impiety takes hold. With the growth of impiety, the women become depraved. With the vices, there ensues an intermixture of caste. With the intermixture of caste traditions of the clan destroyers are ruined. What are Kula Dharma and Jati Dharma? In every caste, a family has its own traditions, customs, and decorum, which are known as Kula Dharma, whereas the traditions of a caste as a whole are known as Jati Dharma or Varna Dharma. These traditions are general and these are approved by the scriptures. These traditions get ruined if not followed. Stanza number 44. उत्सन्कुल धर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतम वासो भवति न्यू सुश्रुम. Translation. We have heard, O Janardana, that men who have lost their family traditions dwell in hell for an indefinite period of time. Commentary on stanza number 44. Utsan kul dharmanam manusyanam janardan narke niyatam vasu bhavanti susarma. God has endowed man with discretion and the right to perform new deeds, hence he is free to perform good or bad actions. He should use discretion in performing actions, but he, being captive of greed, of pleasure, etc., does not use his discretion and acts against the ordinance of scriptures and family traditions. Consequently, he is criticized, insulted, and looked down upon in this life and suffers tortures of hell for a long time in the life to come. This is what we have heard from our elders and ancestors. In the word Manushyanam, the clan destroyed and all other members of the race, including ancestors of the race, destroyed with men and their descendants have been included. Link. In the verse that follows, we are told how Arjuna was influenced by the description of disastrous consequences of fighting a battle. Stanza number 45. Aho bat mahat papam kartum vyavsita vayam yadrajya suklobhen hantum savjan muddata. Translation. Alas, goaded by the lust for throne and enjoyment, we seem bent on perpetrating the great sin of killing our kinsman. Commentary on stanza number 45. अहो वत्से महापन्नः कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं यदुर्जना सुखालोभेन हन्तुं सवजना मुद्यहता. Duryodhana and his companions are villains, being goaded by greed. They are not guided by righteousness, and so they are prepared to wage a war. We have the power to discrimination to power to discriminate between righteousness and unrighteousness, virtue and vice, but we are also prepared to wage war to kill our own kinsmen just like ignorant people. So it is something very surprising and shocking. By doing so, we are going to commit a great sin by turning a deaf ear to the teachings of preceptors and scriptures. The word ahu expresses surprise. It is surprising that we have decided to commit sin by waging this war, even having known its horrifying consequences. The word bata expresses sorrow. It is a matter of sorrow that we are prepared to slay our kith and kin, being overpowered by greed for a transient kingdom and pleasure. Greed for kingdom and pleasure is the only cause for perpetrating the great sin of killing our kinsman. It means that if we get victory in the battle, we shall get kingdom, wealth, honor, glory, power, pleasure, and luxuries. Such greed for kingdom and enjoyment is totally unjustified for such people as us. In this verse, Arjuna wants to say that a man can carry out the behest of scriptures and teachers, etc., only by honoring his own good ideas and his own knowledge. But he who dishonors them cannot adopt virtuous principles of scriptures and teachers. Thus, good thoughts and ideas do not arise up in him. Then who can check him from possessing evil thoughts and performing evil actions? Similarly, if we disregard our knowledge, who can check us from committing the great sin of killing our kinsman? Here, Arjuna is thinking about the disastrous consequences of war, and so he is not willing to wage it. But he is not thinking that his feelings of attachment, selfishness, and delusion for the family are responsible for his behavior, which is totally wrong for a thoughtful, righteous, and brave member of the warrior class. Arjuna in the 38th verse states that Duryodhana, etc., with mind blinded by greed, do not perceive the evil of destruction of their own clan and the sin accruing from enmity towards friend. Here he says that goaded by the greed for throne and enjoyment, they themselves are prepared to commit a great sin. It proves that Arjuna knows that greed is the cause of sins. But in the 36th verse of the third chapter, he asks, impelled by what does a man commit sin unwillingly and why? The answer is that he has a feeling of attachment and affection for the family. So he wants to turn away from war. He thinks that greed is the root cause of the sin of destruction of one's own clan. But by hearing the gospel of the Gita, he wants to know the path or discipline by pursuing which he may obtain the highest good, the supreme bliss. Gita chapter 3, stanza number 2. So, in the third chapter, he asks, which is the force that impels a man to abandon his duty? Which Gita chapter 3 stanza 36 Arjuna asked the question as a striver about his duty, not as a person having attachment for his family. So I conclude this video here. Next video number 8 will start with stanza number 46. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Namaskar my dear friends. Good